Okay, guys. So we're talking about Node.js, using MongoDB in Node.js, and then we've already started, but we'll continue from where we left off. So we are using Mongoose to manage our operations with our database. Okay, so I'll just share my screen. Okay. Let me try to hide this. Okay. Yeah, sorry, let me. All right, so I want us to download, I think, is it MongoDB Atlas, right? If it's not Atlas, then it should be something similar. I'm always forgetting that name. Have anyone here used any SQL database?
Yes, my SQL.
Oh, you've used MySQL.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually cool. But me, I use what's it called? PostgreSQL. Did I just? What am I doing? I actually want to download it, right? So, product Atlas. Is it really Atlas? I don't think it is. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to download you, like it or not. Yeah, it's Compass actually. Compass. What is it? Okay. So you can, the reason why we're downloading it is because once we're using it to be visualizing our data, right, instead of going to MongoDB website. So where is download? Okay, try Compass today. Thank you. So, okay, here it is. Okay, let me copy the link. Okay, it has started downloading. All right, that's cool. So let me go back to my code base. I don't know. It's my views, right? .env. Okay, so I know we are still using our, what's it called? Is that, wait, let me ask this question now. How many of us is having challenge or challenges with the email service we created earlier? Mr. Abiola?
Okay, but okay, I'm still having that local on the local computer. It's not going, but it's going on the live on Heroku server.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know why. Did you generate a password?
Generates. No, I use the method you use. Yes, I generated the password. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have my own here. App password. Okay, so so for those of us here that that has not used this email service we're talking about or created this email service we're talking about, so it's actually sending emails, right? So it's basically maybe when you want to send an email to a user on your, let's say your website or your platform. So in order to do that, you in MongoDB, I mean in Node.js, of course, you have different packages. But in our own case, we are using what's it called? Node Mailer, right? So you can actually go to their website, nodemailer.com, and then you find a way to install it there. So basically it's just npm install node mailer here. So then they have guide on how to use this this package. So this is how to use it. You install it, you require it, and then you can basically just copy this entire code here to see how it works, right? And then I'm sure this is, well, if you're going to copy this, of course, you need to create a test account. Okay, I think they're already doing that for you here. Node Mailer, create test account. Okay, so just come here, copy everything, put it in your code base, and then just execute the file. Okay, so let's go back here. So what I want to do here is get my password for my Gmail account, because I'll be using, in fact, in the other tutorial, we used a Gmail account. So I'm just come to security and then click on app password. Okay, so I think I have to put my password first. That's FB. That. Okay, so I already created one before. Okay, so I can't see the password again. I'm just going to delete this one, generate another one. Mail order, I don't know, but so copy my password here now, the generated one. So I should put it in my .env too. So okay, I can call it secret. Paste it in like that, right? So in my utils now, I come to my mail. Okay, this is email actually. Then I can require .env. So just in case you don't know what this .env you're seeing here, make this bigger. So this .env file here, we actually we installed the package for it. So all it does is just create a .env file here, paste in all your secrets here. So after installing .env, it's actually spelled DOTENV. So your npm install.env, right? So after installing it, you just need to create a .env file in your project directory, and then put all your secrets there. After doing that, you can require .env anyway you want to use it. So I'm going to do that now. Here in my email util, I'm just going to require .env. So actually, this does not doesn't require you to save it in a variable or something. So just require .env, and you can do /config if you like. Also, you can also do require .env and then .config. Instead of using this /config, you can use .config like this to just configure for you to configure all your environment variable. So all it does is the work of .env is to manage your environment variable to make them available in your project. All right, so I can just leave it like this. So any environment variable you put in this .env folder here. So if you put anything here, immediately you require .env inside of maybe, let's say, a file. It's going to configure, it's going to bring in all those your environment variables you have in your .env. It's going to bring them down here in this file. So now we can have access to our secrets. So I'm just going to say, so how to use it, process.env dot the name of the environment variable. So I have secrets there. So I'm just going to put secrets here. Actually, this this SMPT, this our host here, I can actually save it in a .env directory also. And likewise, of course, this my email account can be there too. So just put that in here. So email, username, paste this in, copy this guy, save it. So do the same thing here. So actually this is starting to feel like I'm repeating myself. Process.env, okay, copy this guy, right? So I can actually destructure them out. So paste this in. Oh yeah. Oh, not like that actually. So do this. So I can say const paste this guy here. Oh yeah, no. So email, yep, secret, yeah, like that. All right, so this should work. Okay, so that is that for the email. So yeah, earlier we created a model for our database, right? So we have our schema, and also we exported our, what's it called? Sports model. Okay, then we exported the model, right? Okay, so let me just walk us through this real quick again. So all you need to do to use Mongoose, actually using Mongoose to manage your MongoDB database, you just need to install npm install Mongoose like that. And then of course you can come to you can come here, you can check, I think it's Mongoose JS. Mongoose JS, this is their site here. Just go into it like this, mongoosejs.com, and then you can see how to use it first time here. You just need to require it and then connect it to your MongoDB database. So what they are doing here is they have MongoDB, I think it's CLI installed. They have MongoDB installed locally. So that's why you see they use mongodb.com/localhost. And then the MongoDB port is 27017. And then the database is test. So that's all they did. But of course, you can go straight to your MongoDB and then create a database there and bring in the connection string and put it here. So that's what we are actually doing. Okay. So after this, you can just go to their doc, read the doc. So first thing you need to do is import Mongoose from, yeah, this is some ES6 way of importation or importing your packages, right? So all you need to do in our case, just require Mongoose and set it to Mongoose. Then you can extract your schema out of the Mongoose like this, just destructure it like this. So all you need to do is now instantiate this schema, because it's a class actually. So instantiate it and use it to create your schema. So you call new schema, right? So it takes in an object. All you need to do is pass in, this is like a placeholder for what your database is going to, what the files you are going to be putting in your database is going to look like. So for instance, you have title and then it's a string. You have author, it's a string. Body is a string. So comment is actually an array of objects. So of course you want to have the comment body, the date, and well, you might also add in a user, like a username here. So to actually capture the person's the person's name that's commenting. So you have the body, the comment, and then the date it was created, and then the person's name. So you can also add like user and then set it to a string or so. Yeah. Well, you can set it to a string or just, yeah, you can set it to a string. And then the date, we have type date. So notice they set this to an object. That's because they needed to add more stuff to it than just the data type. So for this body here, you see is a string. So they just set only the data type here. So for you to set more fields, so you just have to like put in your object curly braces here, like curly braces. So where you set the type to date, and then the default value is going to be date.now. So the the moment they create, or the moment you insert the moment you insert this particular data inside of the database, is going to get a date of that moment. Date.now is going to be the default, so you don't need to pass in a date when you are inserting the comment inside of the database. So also whether it's hidden, and this is true. Wow, hidden true. I've never used hidden before. Well, and also meta. Well, okay, this is for them, hidden true. This is for them. It's just this is not actually a convention though. It's just like uh just it's just like you have comments here. So just have hidden here. So I don't know, maybe they are doing some kind of check. So they first hide it, and then I don't know. Meta. So votes, faves. Okay. It's going to have a vote, like where you can just like click a thumbs up to actually upvote that particular comment. Okay, I think that's what this is doing. And also favorites. So you can also, oh yeah, you can add a comment to your favorite. Well, I don't know what they plan to do with this, but this is just like it's an example, right? So this is it. You can use these steps to create your own schema, whichever way you like. So they have tons of data types, right? So as you can see here, we've seen string, we've also seen date, and then we've seen Boolean and also number. Of course, there are lots more data types. So yeah, sorry. So they have okay, the permitted schema types are, oh yeah, I think these are the ones that they allow here. So they have string, number, date, buffer, Boolean, mixed, object ID, array, decimal, 1, 2, 3, well, whatever that is. They have map. Yeah. Okay, so this decimal, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 8. Maybe it's a way of adding a float number, like I don't know. I've not used decimal 1, 2, 7 before. Okay, so you can see this, just basic things. After creating a schema, you want to export it as a module. I mean, as a model. So that's what they did here. You see, okay, they instantiate. This one is even an empty schema, right? They instantiated it to this schema variable, then schema.paths. Okay, by default, Mongoose adds an ID underscore ID property to your schemas. Okay, like this, yes. So when you create a new document with the automatically added ID underscore ID property, Mongoose creates a new ID of type object ID to your document. Okay. Okay. So and that's true. That's true. Okay, you can also overwrite Mongoose default ID with your own ID. Just be careful. Mongoose will refuse to save a document that doesn't have an ID. So you are responsible for setting ID if you define your own ID path. Why would I want to override it? Okay, so this ID they're talking about here is just basically a way for Mongoose, a way for MongoDB to be able to like recognize each data that you insert in their database, right? So by default, each data are going to always have a default and a unique ID, so they don't clash, right? So this data you add here does not clash with another person's own. For instance, let's say you create a user, and then if they don't have these unique IDs, there won't be a way to like distinguish them, multiple users. So if you are setting your own ID, I don't know, you might want to be careful so you don't have one person's ID to match another person's ID. So when you are retrieving the user by their ID, you now get different users' information. You want to delete. Let's say you want to delete user A, and then by mistake you delete user A and B together because they have the same ID. So then that's what they're talking about here. You have to be careful if you're defining your own ID. Okay, guys. So yeah, I think that's all for all this talk. Let's actually start coding. Yeah, I'm sure we all love that. For me, I like coding actually. So if I'm watching a tutorial, I just want to skip to the coding aspect. Let's just get to the coding part. Let's start blazing. Okay. All right. So that's all we did here. And then we have a created art, and we see we have default date.now. So when we insert this user information, we want the created art date to take effect immediately, to be that moment's date. So we are not actually going to be touching this part here when we are inserting a data inside of the database. So we also created a profile schema, right? So let's actually create let's create another schema. So we can call this permission schema. Okay, so it's going to be new schema. Okay, we have name, the permission name, right? Okay. So permission. I'm actually thinking for a name we can give the permission instead of having a name here. So we can just, maybe we can have type. Type is going to be string required true string. Yep. So the permission can be maybe user at first, and then maybe later on you can update it to maybe admin, update it to maybe, depending on the kind of application you're building, right? So let's say learning management system, you might want to have teacher, you want to have I don't know, prefect. Is that a permission? I don't know. I don't know how these things works, right? But yeah, you might want to have a teacher, let's say a learner, teacher, and then maybe you want to like restrict access to some areas using their permission. So maybe an area where only admins are allowed, or maybe only lecturers are allowed, or maybe some things that a regular user can't do, right? Like an instructor. An instructor can create a learning materials. An instructor can create a course, but a regular user can't. So yeah, you just want to use that to limit access to some particular routes. So yeah, so we just created a permission schema. We have the type, we use or type, and then we can actually maybe have a role. I don't know, but let's just keep this simple like this. So yeah, we have type, created ads, updated ads. So that's cool, right? And how do we know this user's permission? Well, so let's actually look at how we can create populate, right? Let's see populate. So MongoDB has the join like lookup aggregation operation in version. Yeah. Which lets you reference documents in other collections. So that's just what I want you guys to get here now. So we are going to have this user here. I mean, this permission table we are creating here for the, let's say for the user. So we'll create another one, user. So we want to use it to know the user that has this permission. So next time when we want to like next time when we want to, what's it called, fetch the user's permission, we'll be able to just fetch the username alongside, maybe the user account details alongside, right? So yeah, now we set the type now here in this user. We are setting the type to be schema.types.object.id. So we're telling MongoDB now that, oh yeah, using Mongoose, right? So this person's this user, not to have user here, the type is going to be an object ID type. So it's the same type that's going to be, let's say, your ID type, right? So when you create a user, the person gets MongoDB. MongoDB also creates an ID for that user. So that ID is what we are doing here now. So we want an ID here too, right? But now we said this type, instead of having string, number, and the regular types, we said it should be object ID, right? So now this is going to reference, somebody. It's going to reference a schema, a document. when I say document, I mean collection. It's going to reference a collection. So we need to check the collection we have here. So which one do we want it to like reference? So we have user schema. Basically, it has a name, email, password. Okay, so we want it to reference the user schema. So let's check what the schema looks like here. Oh yeah, so the schema is actually named accounts. So is this name here that we want to type there too? So it's going to be accounts. That's actually what you're supposed to do for the profile too. That's what we're supposed to do for the profile, but we've already created it. But
Okay, sorry, sir. I want to ask a question.
please go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I was trying to implement status, like to be able to use the status to be updated from the email. Then if you update in the profile, I was not able to do that. But is it possible to do that? Like to reference status information from the profile table and from the profile schema.
No, okay, so the status the status is only here in the account schema here. So if you want to reference it somewhere else, you can reference it anywhere you like. Of course, you can do it in the profile schema too. So you can just, all you have to do is just create, you can call it status here too. And then it's going to be type. So schema dot, I think it's types dot object ID like this. And then you just pass in the reference. So the reference is just basically going to be profile. So think for my own here, it's profiles. So I added an S here, profiles. So yeah, of course, we've done it now, right? Let me see. But why would you want to do that? Okay, well, so if you do it like this now, it's going to fetch everything inside of profiles, but then you can select, after fetching everything, you can just select the one you want from it. So of course, I believe you just want to like take away just that status part of, wait, sorry, which schema is this? Okay, this profile schema, it's supposed to be account. So it's going to reference account schema. So when you populate this, it's going to bring in everything from account. So after bringing it, then you can just like fetch the particular key you want there. That's a particular data that you want from that account. What's it called? That account collection. Sorry, I'm actually forgetting things these days. Okay, so yeah, we have status here. So for the name of the user, I don't know, are we also putting name here? So, okay, the user has a name here too, right? But then for the account table, you might want to make the account table smaller depending on how you want to, or how you want to structure your account table. So for some people, they just basically put in email and password here with status, of course, and also created that, updated that. So this name, they don't allow name here. So when they just take away name here, just email and password. So later on, this name is actually going to be inserted in the profile, because when a user, all you want to do with account is just basically logging the user in and fetching the user. Yeah. So when you fetch the user, when you, what's it called? You fetch the user by their ID, and then what you do next is first test that user, they're going to log in with email and password, right? So their email and password, you use it to fetch the user information from the database. And then after that, after getting that, you can use maybe email to reference the user's profile and then do whatever you want to do on the profile. Maybe like, maybe when they want to confirm their when they want to confirm their email address, when they log, when they want to confirm the email address, right? You issue it, you encrypt their information. So basically just encrypt the email. So when they come, you fetch their information with the email. That's when they when they want to confirm their email address. You just fetch their information with the email. After that, you fetch their information from the profile using the email here. Notice that they are going to be the email, the profile table is going to also be having email. So this email you put here is also what you're going to put in that part too. So you can actually use it to fetch each other. But of course, you can also use reference, but using reference is going to like fetch the entire stuff. But what would you want to use reference to do here if it's just basically logging in and signing in? But it's fine. It's fine, right? So I think for accounts, it's just basically to check maybe their last, maybe login and creating of accounts and logging in, and also activating their email address or confirming their email address. And also you might want to have maybe a last login time, but I don't know if you are going to have to put it inside of the user table, which is the account, or the profile. Okay, so that's enough. We've said a lot. Profile schema. So we added status, right? I think there's something else I wanted to add. Okay. So in our case, if we want to fetch the user profile, we're going to be using their email address, right? But what about if we want to fetch their permission? Okay. So basically, when we fetch the user, I'm coming. Is this supposed to be here? Is this supposed to be here? Permission, right? So if I display permission, we also want to display the user, let's say the username. Is that what we want? Okay. Okay, we can also reference this in the profile too. So maybe when you are fetching the user information, we also populate the user profile with the user's permission. So let's do that here too. So let's say for profile, this is already referencing somebody, right? Like a table. So also call this permission. So it's going to reference permissions. So this is, well, this status we're putting here is because of you. It's just only one time that they need it. It's just one time that they need this status. That's when they've not activated their email. But once they have activated it, you don't need to display this to them again. But yeah, we can leave it there. All right, so permission schema, let's give it a model. So we export it. Okay. Export. Give me a second. Okay, guys. So we just export profile. This is not profile, right? It's preference, right? Is it preference? Permissions. Permission model. So model. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we are. Oh yeah. Okay. So we are exporting the permission model. So we call it permission model. Then we assign it to model, and then the name of the collection. So when I say collection, or when I say document, I'm also talking about collection. When I say table, I'm also talking about collection. So let it not be confusing. So actually in SQL, they call it table. But in NoSQL, like maybe MongoDB, they call it collection. And collections, that's just like it is a table actually. So how are information saved inside of collection? They are saved in a document format. Document that's in an object format, a key and a value. You see that. We're going to see that shortly. So yeah, we've set up our permissions, right? Okay. Close this model. Please ignore this coverage. Actually, let me just delete it. So I believe the way I set up my code base here is actually the way you guys have it too. Except maybe you don't have utils. I'm actually putting my email service in utils and multi-config inside of utils. So public here, of course, you know what this is. Basically our HTML, CSS, and Java, no, our CSS, JavaScript, and image, or the images. Okay. Let's work this out. All right. All right. I think my Zoom is closed. I can't find it, but it's fine. Okay, so come here. So actually, it's inside of controller that we're going to also import that. So all we need to do is when we are creating the user, we set their permission. So when we create a user, we also create a profile for them, and then we also create a permission for them. So a regular user is going to have a permission of user. Yeah, and also you might want to set maybe roles, or maybe like the kind of permission they have. So maybe you call it instead of permission, you can call it role, ROLE. So role. So inside of role, you can set permission, and then you can set the type of role that they have. So, and also you can make those two things different tables or different collection. So where you have a permission collection and then you have role collection. So the role is going to be like the type that has maybe user or admin, and then the permission is going to maybe we having like maybe an array, like read, write, or delete. Or maybe the user can only read or write or delete, and things like basic CRUD operation update. So like you can have a user that maybe when they visit this area, they can only view some things there, and they can't create. They can only view. They can't create. And meanwhile, maybe some can create, can view. So you can view. Of course, all of them will be able to view, right? That's the default. But then maybe afterward, then they can update it to maybe they can view, they can create, they can update, but they can't delete. Meanwhile, the super user or the super admin also is going to have all those permissions, like can read, can create, can update, can delete. So it's just a way of setting permissions, and then the roles and the type of things they can all these guys can do. Okay, so yeah, we've created our okay, so what's supposed to have happen here is we have the user, right? The user has account, permission, profile. Okay, cool. So profile model, all we need to do, right, here inside of user controller, is we need to create a profile. So 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 I have contact controller, take that off. So this is user controller, right? So we jump back to the top. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we jump back to the top. Now we are going to need to bring in our permission model. Maybe show the name at the same thing. Come inside of model, copy permission model here. Go back to user, paste it here. Okay, so we are sure now. So UUID. Okay, are we still using UUID? I doubt it because this is creating an ID for us. That is MongoDB is creating an ID for us. Upload image. Leave this profile. Oh, this is profile. This is rendering just the view. This guy is displaying the profile page on the website when we hit maybe / profile or something. So you have create user down here. Actually, I should actually take this to the top. Okay, so all we need from here is the name of the user that is creating an account. So this is create user here. So we need the name, email, password, and then that C password is confirm password. Okay, so I'm going to close this, minimize it. So this data here, after using Joy to create a schema, we use Joy to validate that schema against what they bring in from the request body. So Joy is just you basically used to validate an object or whatever is coming from the front end. It's used to validate it to make sure that they're actually correct, there are things you're expecting. And Joy is also, it can help in terms of security, right? So let's assume that you declare maybe you want a string, right? And then maybe an hacker, is it an hacker or a hacker, inserted an SQL queries, like some kind of SQL query that's supposed to steal maybe or destroy some part of your information in your database. Joy can actually help to detect that and then throw an error. So Joy is very powerful. It's not just used for just ordinary validation. It also helps in terms of security. Okay, so we got so after Joy validates the data, it returns it back. So we saved it straight inside of this data variable here. And from this data variable, we extract what we need from it. So basically just taking name, email, and password. Of course, you can make this simpler and just take this entire code and put it here instead of having instead of saving inside of variable and destructuring it here. But I think there's a reason for that, right? Okay, so then we hash the user's password. So then we hash the user's password here and then save it inside of the password again. So it's just like overriding the password. That's what we did here. We hash the password and overrides it. And then it overwrites it here. And then the next thing, we created an object for the user. So after creating that, take this console.log off. After putting this in an object, and then we also pass in the profile as an object here. After that, then we use our user model, what we declared inside of our model here, the schema we created. And no, don't forget we exported just the object, just the model part of it. So if you go back there, you see we export model permission, then we pass in the schema we created for permission. Same thing happened for profiles. So we created the profile schema. We passed the schema here, then we exported the model. That's why we named it profile model, and then you see user model, permission model. Okay, so back here. So we use that model. We say user model dot create. This actually, then after dot create, we pass in the user object we created here. So this is actually representing the user's information. That's what they pass in from the request, what they pass in when they submit that whatever form they were given while consuming this our API or something. So we just grab their name, email, and password, then we create it. So we just pass it inside of this our user model.create, and then we create the user. We get the user back, so we save it in the created user variable. So doing that now, so actually, so we just say set up permission. So that's what we're going to do next. So permission, oh, we have something here. Const permission, user ID, created user ID. These codes are suggested for me by Copilot. I don't think I need this. So actually, let me check what I have in the permission schema here. So we have user schema.types. So we have type. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do here. Just come here, change this to type. So and then change to user. So it's just basically, so after we create the user, right? So this is, let me check again. It's referencing the account schema, right? So after creating the account for the user, we just use this created. Don't notice here, what is going on here is, let me explain better. So this permission schema is expecting an ID. Notice object ID. So schema.types.object ID. So we want to reference this user now. First thing we need to do is we need to pass in the object ID of the account schema when we create of the account model. So immediately we create the user, we get their ID. So is that ID that we're going to put in this user. So this user, we're going to specify the ID we got from the account after creating the account. So that's what I'm going to do here. So notice we've created the user here. We've created the user in this line. So we just take created user. Wow, no, copy it, created user. And then we do dot, it's not ID, is underscore ID, because it's being created by MongoDB for us. So we just take that ID and then they usually put underscore in front of the ID. So that's what we just do here. So, and actually we can, so after doing that, let's log so that we can see what we have. God. Okay, I'm going to do console.log to make this easier. So permission, just put it like that. Console.log permission, right? So doing that, set up permission. So all we need to do is just say, save permission. So const created permission equal to await permission model dot create permission, just like this. So permission model dot create, that's the way we did for the user too. Dot create, so we pass in the permission we put here, the one we set up here. That's permission we declared as an object, we'll pass it in. So we pass it in like that for us. So let's go back to the schema. So the schema has user and then type. So the user data type is object ID data type. That's why you see we put the user's ID here. And then the type of permission we are expecting for the user. So the type of permission is user. So we can actually set a default here. So type string required true, trim, yes. And then we can say default to user like this. So anytime you are creating an account, we don't need to pass in a type for you. It's just going to be by default user. Except if you are creating it as maybe an admin, that's when we specify admin here. And then of course, we're going to have a middleware for this permission. So we are going to have like maybe an endpoint where only admin can visit. So we use this middleware to check for the user's permission. So now we can take off this type here. So we can take off the type because by default it's going to be the user. So we just set only the user. Or should this be username, or we can actually, so the idea is to just put in just the name of the user. Of course, we can put, instead of the name alone, we can pass in maybe the user ID. So now this is going to represent the reason why it's going to, well, for a start, when we create this user, of course, it's only their ID that we're going to see here when we create the user. But when we want to like fetch the permission of the user, then that's when we populate this user ID. We populate it, we turn it into the user's information instead of just the user ID. So actually, let's test this out. So I'm going to go to, where's my insomnia? I've been talking a lot. Hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying.
We are trying to.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I know it's kind of complex here, but let's actually visualize it. Let's see it in action. So yeah, I was installing Atlas before. I mean, Compass. Okay, so it's here. So let me. Okay, it's a zipped folder. Yeah. So MongoDB Compass. All right, let me just install it. So extract or run. I don't know. Which one is it going to do first? Okay. So when after extracting this, let me just extract it because I don't know what that run is supposed to do. All right, we can actually leave this guy. Okay, so the reason why is I don't want to mix up. Wow. So I think it's saying it as, oh boy. I think I zipped that folder. Compress to zip, no, extract all, yeah. Extract here. Okay. So we might be seeing some created user already. So let's just go to create user. We'll have the name, email, and password, and the confirm password. So actually, let's start the server first. npm run dev. Let's see if it's going to start or not. Okay, starting listening on ports. Cool. So let's try to create this user. We might get an error. So yeah, we got an error. Duplicate key error collection. Test DB account index. So the duplicate key is for the email. I think we set the email to be unique. So that means this user has already been created before. So we actually need to look for a better way to display a better text other than this MongoDB stuff here. So just imagine that, and then his internal server error, the status is 500. We need to adjust that. So we need to adjust that. Okay, we are going to do that, of course. Let's not waste much time. So let's actually test this. Let's test this with another person's email, like another email that has not, that does not exist in the database. Let me try this one. Cannot read property create of undefined. I think there's an error here somewhere. Okay. Permission model. That is going to be permission model. I think it should be so. So let's find it. Go up. We have permission model here. Extracted from back, come here, model, user. Oh, okay. So it's actually set to, oh yes, sorry. I'm supposed to put it here, this one here. Then I put it inside of model/database, which won't exist. If you check database now, it's only having user database and profile database. And I should actually delete it. The reason why I'm still leaving it is because I don't want to be seeing some kind of error. So that's why I just left this line of code here. So in case if there's any way I've used it. So let me find this user database. You can see it finds two. So he found two of the, so that means I'm using it somewhere. That's why I left it there. I don't want to take it off and start seeing some error. Now for the profile database, I have 4 of it here. So it's best I leave it so I don't get some errors. Okay, so now the problem is if we try to like create this user, I'm sure the user must have been created already. It's just the permission that did not create. So if I run it again, I will get the duplicates. So see, we have duplicates. So I think what we should do is let's try another email and then we create a delete user route. So let me just add 7 to it. It's going to be 977. So user created successfully. If we go back to our code base, check the console, we should have, so email sent to, that means our email service is working here. But here, notice this line here. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So notice this line, we have user set to new object ID. If we go back to our code, so if we go back to this part here, that is coming from the permission we created just now. So notice here, we create permission here and there's an object, and then we logged the permission down here to the console. So that's where you see user set to the user's ID here. So the permission has actually created that. It's been created. So I don't know why coming. Wow, I don't want to leave the meeting. Wow, okay, it's actually fine. So yeah, let's go back to our, I don't know why this is not going to, why is not installing the Atlas? I don't just want to stress myself on it. So MongoDB Compass. So I want to actually log into it so that I don't have to be going to the browser every time. Okay, so my security is, I think it's my Windows Defender that is stopping it from creating. Okay, settings here. Turn this real time off. Turn this one off too. So yeah, I don't know if that's would do. Okay, let's try it again. So if you're using Windows and you have this Windows Defender stuff, you might be getting this error. So let's just try to fix it here first. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure I did that properly. I think that option is somewhere. Guys, please, should I fix this here now, or maybe we should just continue without it? Let's just check it in the cloud. I mean, on their website. What do you suggest?
It's okay, sir.
What's okay? uh okay, no, let me just, let's make use of Google rather. So they can see it. It's Tampa. developer monitoring or something. I don't know. Let me try that again. So Windows protected your smart screen. Yeah, it's actually smart screen. I don't know if Windows Defender smart screen. Okay, it's here. Then what else? One, there are three different Windows smart screen filters. You can configure separate options for each. Select block. I was there earlier. Use default on, data off by default. Control flow guard off by default. Program settings. What are all these? Oh yeah, these are those the seats here. Smart screen for Microsoft Edge. So let's first test this if it's going to work before. Okay, yeah. So yeah, run. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So yeah, guys, where I went to is when you open your Defender, just open up this sidebar. It's actually inside of app and browser control. So I think I've turned this off. I click the reputation-based protection, and then this is the guy here, smart screen for Microsoft Edge. Just click to turn it off and turn this on to off. So yeah, and then I have it here, it's opened. So now, first thing we need to do here, I think, is to actually start using Compass, yes. So here, the connection string, we're going to bring that connection string here. We'll check our code first. Let's see if it's the connection string that we copied. Okay, yeah, it is. So just copy it. Paste it here, then connect. So it's going to try to connect to it. So after connecting, it's going to bring all our information back. So yeah, we have testDB here. This is the one we are using, testDB. So notice we have some collections here: accounts, permissions, profile, users. These users, I'm going to delete it. Well, okay, so our permissions here, we've actually inserted one. So you can see for the user, this is very tiny. So you see for the user part is an object ID. And then also they added a unique ID for us here, but that's not it. That's not what we want. Well, we don't actually care about it though. So user, we might care about it later on, but for now, our focus is this user and the type. Notice the type is user. That's the default type we selected for it. So what I want to do is go to account. I want to delete all these ones I have here. Permission, I can take off this one now. So you can see it's easier to control here. And then we had like 4 accounts before, and then we have 2 profiles. Okay, so that is that. Close this or email, close it. Database, close. So in our user controller here, now after creating this, let's say we want to display the user permission when they log in. Or do we even need to do that? We don't need to display it to them when they log in, but for our own, since we're just testing, let's do that. So we are testing. So for sign in, So for sign in now, if the user is able to sign in, so password, like I'm not done here. So user model dot find one, we find the user model. Yeah. So if you have let's say if you have any table that's referencing another, for instance, now in our user in our permission here, so user get the user. So let's see the user the account collection here. So this is the account collection. Are we referencing anybody? So we're not actually referencing any table here, right? So it's the profile that's referencing. So let me check the profile. So the profile is referencing permission. So let's go back to our code now. So when we find the user here, user model.find one, we find the user by their email. So if we get the user, then what's going to happen? So if user, if an error, respond with an error, else, okay, we've not completed this one. So that's what we're going to do now. User model. I'm going to take off this account DB, but I might need some things here. So bcrypt.compare sync password user.password. So we compare the user's password to the one they have in DB. Okay, after doing that, if it's right, so we copy this code here from here. So we take this here, copy. So if pass, paste it here. Okay. So I need to take off this one here. So we change this pass to pass to his pass. So we know if it's actually the password, we proceed. And then we display, okay, we send out their token and a message. So else we throw an error, incorrect password. How about if there's an error, if we did not get a user? Okay. Okay, so we are done with this guy here, user not found. We are done with you here. Delete you. Okay. So we can actually log in now. So, but then the idea is we just give them their, okay, when the user logs in, we give them their token, right? So here, this part here sends out their token for them. So this is not where we want to perform our magic. The magic is when you try to like get a user profile. In this get profile, this is where we want to do it. So profile, we are still using profile database here. So we change it to profile model. The profile model dot find. Okay, so the user is first going to bring their ID, right? That's first going to bring their ID. So I think we are getting email here, res.locals.user email. So let's, okay. So the user email, let's go back here. Sorry guys, sorry. So the profile schema is actually sharing the same email with the user schema. It's sharing the same email here. So I think that was why we are using email here. So email, we find the user by their email. Profile model.find here. Find one, change to find one. So if you check Mongoose, you see we have find one and delete, find one and remove. So we're using find one now. So how do we want to find this user? So find the user by their email. So we can just, since it's an object, we can just pass in one object there. And then the second parameter takes in, I think is error first. Error, then call this profile. Error, then profile. So in ES6, if you know ES6 well, you know that we can actually put just email inside of this bracket, and it's going to represent, it's going to represent email equal to email like that. So if you put just one email, it's going to be email equal to email. So we are finding one user. So profile model will find one. So we are finding the user by their email. So we say if the user email matches the email, where's the email? That's the email we are getting from this rest locals.user email. If it matches it, it's going to like find it in the database. So we say error and then profile. So if there's an error, we're going to need to handle it. User profile not found. Nope. Let's minimize this. So, okay, we're already handling it in the else part here. User profile not found. Are we supposed to send that out? I don't know, but so in this profile, so we don't need to check if the user email equals the account email. We don't need to check that again. Okay. So we don't need to check this guy again because already let's check our middleware again. The authorization middleware. So all this is just doing is checking if it's valid, right? So if the token is valid, that's how we get the token here. So let's come back here. So I think we need to check that. So profile model will find one. But the idea is if we have a profile model and then we have a user. So the user that we're using their email to check their profile is actually the user that exists. So the idea is going to be when the user deletes their account, we also delete their profile. So next time when we find the user email in their profile, if you find it in their profile, if we don't have the user profile there, then we know that the user does not exist again. So when you are deleting the user, it's best to delete their account and their profile and preference, everything about them, delete it once. So if you don't delete the user profile and just delete only their accounts, and then next time when they come to their profile, you only search for them in their profile, you're going to find their record in their profile. Except if you find their information in the account first before actually fetching it or looking for it inside of the profile. So if you only delete the account, you did not delete profile, and the user comes to look for their information in their profile, they are going to find it. So you want to be strict here. So it's either you fetch or you find them first in their account before proceeding to finding their information in the profile. So you can do that, or you can skip finding their information in the account before going to profile. When you know that, you are always going to be deleting their profile, their account, and also anything pertaining to them when they are deleting their account. I don't know if you get that. Do you guys understand that at all?
Yes, I understand, sir.
Okay, cool. So now we are in this part now, we're not looking for them inside of the account first too. We're just moving on directly, looking for them straight, looking for their profile directly here. So yeah, that's what we're doing here. So we're going to do that now. So if profile.email, we don't have account information, so there's no need. Oh yeah, okay, so I have it up here, get the user account details. So actually we can say it here. We can do it here. We can just say account model. Where is it? Account model. Find. Wow, account model. Okay, it does not exist. It's only one. Okay, so try user model. Find. Okay, 4 times. Okay, cool. So it's user model. So user model does find. It's going to be find one. Okay, this takes in. Just put in email here. So find them by that email. So here is going to be true, error, and then user. So we need to make this. So let's just do that check here. So if error is not found, so else return user. Okay, this has been taken out. Seems to be an error somewhere here. Okay, there's no error. So account now, we've gotten the account info now. So we check if account. So if account, that's when we want to proceed here. So now we can now check now if profile.email is the same thing with the account email. So we check now to be sure. So if it's that, if that be the case, if it's right, then we know that. So we know that, okay, yeah, this is the actual user. So profile.account ID, account ID. So here now, here, while fetching the profile model, that's the user's profile, don't forget that the profile schema is also referencing the permission schema. So I think down here, permission, it's also referencing the account status. So now we can populate these two things now. So we can populate this now. So in this profile now, profile model of find one. So we can actually attach at the end of this now. So notice, let me minimize this. So notice at the end of this find one bracket here, the parentheses, at the end, we can attach dot populate. So when you want to populate now, you can choose if you have so okay, so yeah, this is it here. Populate part any, select any model string. So we can actually specify part which should be populated with other documents. So in this case, I think we can put in an object and we say part. So I don't really know if this part can be an array. I don't know, but we are populating two parts. So I think I'm going to put string account, another one, accounts, profiles. Okay, I'm coming. There's something we can actually do. Second parameter, can that accept select name, email, status? Okay, so we can select their name, type, status. Okay, not profile. This is supposed to be permission. So we're going to look at the documentation together and I'm coming. So select, do we need the name? Okay, we need name. We need the type. Permission does not have a name, yeah, but account does. Account does. Type. Permission has type. Account has status. Now, account also have name. So let's just try this. So after populating this guy, so we can come here and then, so, oh boy, we need to save this as a variable so that we can access it inside of this place, but come in. So let's check their documentation again. So mongoose.js.org, right, or .com. Yep. So we check populate. So now we look at it well. So we have schema ID. Yeah. Mongoose the model. So I'm sorry, guys. People are watching football around us here. So if you are hearing any noises, it's from them.
No problem.
Okay. So this is not it. This is the populate part here. So notice. Oh, okay. We can actually chain it like this. Find one. We find by the title. We find like this, and then attach populate here. Let me make this bigger. Oh, everything has moved to the left. So find one, then you chain populate on it like this. After that, then we can execute. So that's what we're going to do now. So this execute just basically is just like the callback function of this find one. So that's what we're going to do. But then, can we populate more fields? So story or populated. Okay, so you can check if a field, if it actually populates that data by using populated and then passing the field that you're populating. So, slow down. We need to check this well and be sure. Let's check the schema again. So the schema name is, okay, the part is stories. So what are they populating here? Auto. Okay, they're also here. We have auto here too. So they're populating auto, right? Let's check. Let's take this guy off next. I'm coming. So we are to populate that part. So for the first part, I think we have status, we have type. So this is account, right? This is profile, right? So populate status also populates permission. So this is going to be um, status permission, yeah, permission. Is it permission or type? Yeah, permission, like that. So, and I don't know if you can actually do an array, if you can do an array like that, yeah. But then, of course, let's try this. So the next part is going to be exec. So put it like this, dot populate, then dot exec to execute. Let's go back and check again. So we are chaining it now. Oh, okay, like this. This is also imitating, right? So when we do a model or find one, then we chain populate on it like that. And we also chain execute as exec on it. So this exec takes in a callback function, right? An anonymous function as a callback function. So check hours. Let's format this the way they did this, like this. So profile model dot find one, then break this like this, populate dot populate. Populate after that, then break this exec. Hope this is readable enough like this. Well, I hope so. So we need, sorry, I didn't hear that well. So profile model dot find one dot populate. So this part here, I'm actually going to look into it again because I'm not sure, but yeah, let's just try it first. Check our console if we're getting errors. There's no errors, right? So now we need to check our endpoint index. Hide this. When index, okay. So we have app.get profile, user.profile. So I think, okay, yeah, app.post profile. So this one uses authorization. This is the profile area, profile endpoint. So let's first create this user. 2199, yeah, 997. So we create this user. We get user created. Should we log in? Yeah, so we need to log in this user. Login. So we get our token after logging in. So we copy this token. So profile. We need to create profile. So update profile. This name should not be update profile, right? It should be profile. So post to profile uses header. Paste in our token here. Send this request. So we expect an error here. So let's check our code. We get a bunch of it. So email sent, post user login, yeah. So unhandle promise rejection error, type error, details.populate invalid path. Okay. So hide this now. Go back to this guy here. So this part, let's actually so let's populate the status first. So we select, okay, on the status, oh, come in. I think I might be the one doing something wrong here. Okay, population, populate, and then populate auto. Okay, oh yeah, so populating multiple parts. Okay, we can actually chain it like this, populate, populate. Okay, so populate, right. This is actually what we wanted to do. Populate parts, select name, email. So we can do it that way. Is there a better way? No. Okay, so yeah, let's use it that way. So part is status, select status. Then we can also chain. So we can also do another populate. So this is going to be permission. Select type from permission. So part of status, we select this. So let's check, are we getting errors yet? Everything looks cool here. So go back to install. Oh yeah. Come back here. Click this. Wow. There must be an error somewhere again. So unhandled promise rejection. Populate is not defined. Oh, we did not add another full stop. Yeah, so I should add a full stop. So dot find one dot populate dot another populate again. Actually, I can make the dots be at the back of it like this. So like that, right? Find one dot populate dot execute. So let's check it again. Send. So user profile not found. We'll go 404. Okay, post profile 404. I don't know. Is that supposed to be an error? Uh, let's find out. So exec writes if error status user profile not found. I don't know. So let's take in this 404 error. Let's take off that. Let's just do console.log error to see if it's an actual error. That's to see if the error is coming from this guy or this part here. So we compare their email together and then we see if it does not match. Let's get user profile not found. Let's test that. Send user profile not found. So it's not coming from error at all. Let's check. So we did not get any console.log here. So it's coming from these guys here. So all I need to do here is compare that here. So console.log profile.email and then accounts.email. Let's see what it looks like. Log that, come back, check the console. So, okay, so this is it here. We have one email here and the next one, the second one is undefined. So that means account email is undefined. So inside of here, let me just do the console.log here, log user. So if account else, user account not found. Okay, log this again, come back, check console. So this is the user, right? User.email. Let's be straightforward. Let's know what we are doing here. So this one is this. Okay. Sorry guys, sorry. You know what? This debugging of a thing, you just have to be good with it. Good while doing it, yeah. So we got an account, right? So let me just take this guy off like this. So instead of account email, let me just log account here to see what it is here. So, and also the console.logs are getting too much. So let's come back here, send multi-path. Wow, where is this coming from? Okay, Mongoose collection. Oh boy. Okay, so let me log the account here. Let me see what it looks like. So inside of this place, I want to log it. Oh boy. So okay. Ah, this is going to take a while. Oh yeah. Okay, I just figured something. So I just figured something now, yeah. Cut this guy, right? So after finding, I think we were supposed to do .then on it. Then let me check what it looks like here. Or we could do exec. That can also work, right? I think it's supposed to return a promise. So okay, let's try that. Wow, is the account not found, right? So let's check. We go undefined. Wow. Okay, so this one, it worked this time. About here, const, is it returning it? Return user. Okay, so I think what happened was, or is, we need to await this guy. Okay, check again. Still getting undefined. Okay. Yeah, so it actually worked this time. So we have the user information here, but we don't have the data. We don't have what's it called? The part we populated. So can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the problem before was we were supposed to await this guy here because it returns a promise and we weren't waiting for it. So I'm coming. Let me see if I can. Do we have access? Okay, so we have access to this part here. So if error user not found, else. Nope, we don't need you. We just want to return user. So this handles the error. If there's an error, it handles it here. Else. So let's test this now. And you're loading too much. Just tell us if there's an error. Okay, so I think. Yeah, sorry. You want to say something?
Yeah, I was looking at something. I saw in that first populate, the status is it supposed to be status or user or accounts?
Okay, I'm coming. No, let's just stick to this. I'm going to work on this later. So yeah, okay. What you said is the part supposed to be status or
Like,
user?
yeah, the Mongoose they showed us the documentation. Though they not do it like this, but I think that one
Okay.
they else.
So what they did is notice story. They have populate fans. They also have populate auto, right? If you scroll up here a bit. Okay, let's see. Is the schema I'm trying to get to? Okay, so fans auto. So notice in their schema, they have auto here. Make this bigger. So they have auto here. They also have fans here. Are you seeing it?
Yes, yes.
So they populated fans and then auto. So they didn't populate they didn't populate the name of the model. So if you can say our story here, we have person here. It's not the name of the model they populated, it's the name of the key here.
The name of the key.
Yeah, so this key is here, populate and then fans. Let's go down a bit. Okay, so this is it here. Story find. So this find is going to like fetch all of this thing, all of the stories. It's not just one particular story, it's all of the stories. If it's thousands, it will find it and then populate it with the part of fans and select name, part fans, select email. Well, I believe there should be a way to just populate multiple, select multiple keys instead of just doing it like this. Okay, let's go back. Um, so profile model, path, status, select status, right? So let me check this. Profile, the path is status and references account. So as you select status from account, account has status, yeah. So for permission to references type. Okay. So yeah, why is this not working now? Let me see that. So let's log. By now, I should have that thing now. Console.log. Let's log profile first to see what's going on. So come here, send. Get that right. Which is the first? Okay, we're doing a lot of console.logs. So we've logged accounts first. Okay, so I still don't get why this is not getting populated, but let me just take off this, take off part, right? As a matter of fact, let's use just one first. Okay, so created at selecting just profile. So what we're getting here is selecting just profile. Wow. Could that be because, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. Wow, this is weird. Test DB. Okay, let's drop the table. Okay. 70 years old man. Is the account not found? Oh yeah, need to create a user. Okay, I believe he's here. Is the profile that's causing that. I know, you're here already. So I'm deleting the collections, this permission, because I'm surprised why this is not working. Headers. Wow, this is bad. So we are still not getting what you're expecting, right? Come. on a file. Oh, wow, we're out of time already. Did we use key handler? Okay. Why is our own not working? The way is exactly I know. It's because we are using try and catch. Okay. Oh. All right. So I'm just going to post profile. New lock.
Line 28, sir.
Okay, 208. What, 2? Oh, yeah, thank you. Then it didn't still seem to work. So profile, right? User model. And are you sure? Okay, let's be sure now. So for the profile, when we are creating the profile, so profile schema, okay, now I see what the error is. So we did not actually populate the profile. So when we create the user, where is the profile? So we did not populate this with any status. So here now we're supposed to put in the user's account, what's it called? The user account's ID. So what, okay, created user. So we only did that for permission. So profile dot status, right? Equal to created account status. So created user dot ID. So I'll open this guy. Are you connected yet? Connected, good. Come here. So we actually need to create the user. So we need to delete that user. Refresh. So account this user, delete this user, profile, delete the user. So come back. Okay, user not found, of course. So create the user, log the user in, copy this token here to get the profile. So send. Yeah, so now we have it. Notice we have the status here as an object. So this is the status. So we did not include the, what is it called? The permission. So the idea is, so the problem we faced was when we created the user, the profile, when we created the profile, we did not set the status to the user's object ID, to the user's ID. But when we want to populate, we are populating a field that is empty, a field that we did not put any value. So let me make that even clearer. So where is it here? So when we call populate status here, the populate status is basically checking the profile model to see if there's any status there. As if there's any key of status there. So if the key has a value, we are populating it. So when we populate it, and then with check this guy here. So notice the status is referencing account, right? It's referencing account, but then the type needs an object ID. But if we did not put an object ID there, it is not going to be able to populate anything. So when calling populate, basically what populate does is it takes the object ID that was here, that's the ID of the user. Then it does something like find by ID. It finds that user and populates the user information in this place here. So we got the user information here now inside of the console, like inside of this our Insomnia here. Notice this is a full user information, including the password and the status. So what we are going to do is we're going to use select to select only the user status. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. That makes sense. So when we come here now, so this is the time where we use our path. Actually, an object. You can use select to select something or deselect something. So in the case, maybe when you want to fetch the entire user information and then you don't want to include password, you can have minus password here. Notice I put minus password.
Yes.
For the select. So if I save, go back to Insomnia now, refresh this. So I'll refresh, still loading. So now when we check the object, the status object, you see that there's no longer password here again. Before yes. there was password here before, but there's no longer password. And also we can use this select to just remove the select and the password, and then just put status here. That means we're selecting just one field. We come back here now, we send the request. The object has changed to the ID and only status.
Wow.
Now you see, for the status, we only want only status. In fact, it's even only the value that we need. We don't even need the ID and then this status here. Or what's your idea of using this status I talked about?
I was not thinking about anything. I was just thinking of the front end because I have a front end page for it. So I was putting active ending, something like that.
Okay, so instead of just putting active, just populate it like this. Let it come from the server. So if the user is not active, that means I'm just setting active for the user, even though the user is not active. So let it come. So the idea is when you do it like this, so when you are populating your front end, you check if the status is pending. If it's pending, then you put pending there. Or you can either set it like this yourself, or get all the value and display all the value that comes from the API like this. But one thing is, you need to check if the status is pending. You need to let the user know that, oh, you've not verified your email address. So you display something like your profile is pending or email not verified or something like that. So you use this to check. So it's only when it's active, that's when you don't display that particular message again. Okay.
Okay, sir, I get now. Thank you, sir.
Oh yeah, Mr. Abiola Adeosun, you are showing us a video of yourself. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, we've exceeded our time already. But the idea here is we've been able to populate. Oh, okay, here. I notice here we are displaying the account status here. Let's just take this off like this. Okay. So take off the account ID. Let's check it ourselves. Refresh now. So just again the same stuff. Okay, cool. So profile.account ID, let's display. Well, let's check. There's nothing like account ID here. So what are we even sending to the user? Profile, right? So status ID new object. Okay, this is one we've not populated. Slow down. Get profile here. If profile on. Okay, profile.account ID, account.id. So why are we not seeing that? Account. Okay. So this is account, right? Oh, okay. So the account ID is underscore. So account.id is underscore. Account.underscore ID like that. So check. So we have ID in this status, right? So we can just say profile dot status equal to profile dot status dot status. So that's the way it's bringing it. So now what you are going to be getting is status is not going to be an object again because of what we did here, profile dot status. We are overriding it to the profile dot status or status. That means it's going to go inside of this object, then status, then get this status key here. So like let's resend it. It did not seem to work. Wow. So what exactly is going on? Or are we get profile, right? Get profile. Let's be sure. So come here, user.get profile. Why are we now seeing something else? Wow, this is magic. Okay, so as a matter of fact, we've been able to achieve what we wanted to achieve, right? We've been able to use reference and populate. So, and also, yeah, we did not, let's also include our permission. So this is going to be another assignment for you guys. So when we select permission, we want to populate just the type, right? So if you come to user model, we see we have permission key here inside of the profile, and it's referencing permissions. So if you come to permissions now, the type here is basically a type that says either string, either user or account that we talked about earlier. And also the user, we can populate so we can also have, what's it called here? So we can also do this, another populate. So this is going to be user. So no. Populate parts. I'm coming, sorry. So where's the schema here? So for the permission here, okay, populate permission, right? So I'm just going to select, there's no need to select the user, it's just does the type. Select us the type, right? Like that. So let's refresh now. Damn. So we're still getting the same old stuff. Is it cached or what's going on? Is this showing us a cached version? I don't know. So status, permission, fetch the type. So display profile here. Let's actually see what profile looks like. Profile accounts. Okay, so let's send in the request again. So this is what profile looks like. Status pending. Oh yeah, okay. So we did not also include permission when we were creating the user. So if you check here, we did not also include, this is insane. So we just did status there and we set it like this. So actually this object here, I'm supposed to even put it down here, right? So we can just have slash status is going to be this guy right here. Copy that, set it like this. And also permission, we set it to be the user ID still. So we no longer need this one up here. So like this now we have a status as referencing the user. So that is that. If you try it now, though note that we need to like recreate the user again. So I don't need, I just need to change the user email. So just change the email. So I don't need to go and delete again. And 7, create this user, log the user in. Log the user in. So grab the user's info, grab the user's token. This is to fetch the user. So hope you guys are following. So now we have the permission set to null. The permission is null, right? So I don't know why. Oh, okay. Slow down. So the permission is null. Okay, created permission. Oh, we only created the permission. Oh, created. Oh, forgive me. So this is supposed to come right here after we've created everything. So it's going to be created permission, not user. So created permission.id. Why? Because if you check the model again, check the model, So for the permission, for the user's permission, where is the user? Okay, so this is user here. Is it user or profile rather? So if you check the profile here, the profile is referencing the status is referencing the account schema, the account model rather, the account collection, but the permission is referencing the permissions collection. So it's going to be, so now for this user profile now, the status is going to reference the account ID, the user's account ID, and the permission is going to reference the permission ID. So now you see we put the permission, created permission ID, because that's what we needed here inside of this, what's it called? Inside of the user. So according to the schema, so we're referencing permission. So it's the permission ID that we need here. Okay, so that is that. So created permission.id, cool. So like hell, I've exhausted all my email here. So I can still try another one. Create the user, log the user in. Wow, I need to be sure. The email 219. So now, Mr. Ike. So Mr. Ike is not here. So if you check now, you see that now we are getting the permission. We have the type and the ID of the permission. Likewise, the status too. We have the type and the ID of the status. I mean, we have the status and the ID. So hope you see how to populate now, how to make tables reference each other and also populate the table, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, but
Thank you very much, sir.
please, do you understand?
Yes, I understand the.
Oh my.
Sorry, what you said you understood something. It's like you don't understand one part.
No, I understand. I understand. You have explained. Okay, nothing.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that is that. But then, as you can see, that we're populating here. But if you check the collection, if you check it here on what's it called? Let's open the profile, refresh. If you check it here now, if you check the documents here, I'm sure. Slow down. Open profile. Wow, so there's nothing here. Refresh. Yeah, okay, we have it here. So this is the profile, what's it called? Collection. So if you check the permission, you see the permission is only having ID. Likewise, the status is only having ID. So these IDs are actually pointing to, for the status, it's pointing to the user. So if you copy this ID here, see this ID, it ends with 85, 80F. For the status ID ends with 80F. So if you come to account now, look for user that ends with 80F. You see there's a user here that their ID ends with 80F.
Yes.
Okay, so now you know that it's pointing to their ID directly. It's not actually pointing to all the values inside of, like here now, we have their name, email, and password. It's not pointing to that. It's supposed to hold their ID. So we are inside profile again. Notice the permission status, the permission, sorry, ends with 80F also. Wow, this ends with 80F. I'm sure it's not going to be the same. Don't see, regardless of what it ends with, check the value that comes after it. Okay, I think it's still the same thing with this, but from here, this has 223 ABD, but the second one has 02DC. Whoa, wait, slow down.
It's the same thing.
It's almost the same thing. It's almost the
It's
same
the same thing.
So it generated the same ID for the
Not the
user.
same.
It's not the same.
Not the same.
It looks
It's
almost
the same thing.
After the 712, 8270.
It's the
Yeah,
same
there's a,
thing.
wait, after the 70 BC.
It's the same
Okay,
thing. It's the same thing.
It's
The
the
same
same
thing.
thing.
So that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. So if well, oh, but let's check this. What about this one? The status, but their ID is not the same. Okay, yeah, the ID is not the same. Like this ID here, check the value of this. It's different from the status and also the permission. So these guys are actually the same thing. So let's check here too. This guy is also referencing somebody now, right? So it has
Yeah.
different ID. User is referencing the user table. I mean the user's ID here. So this is the user ID. So do we have any user ID with A11? Okay, this last user. So this is the ID. Okay, so this is interesting. This is really, really interesting. So coming, see the profile here. So if the status ID is the same thing with the permission ID. So we'll check permission ID. So we have a permission that ends with 2. So, oh yeah, okay, so see this last one. This last one that we created, the last account we created now. Notice that the status and the permission are not the same. This one ends with A and BAA. While this one ends with BAA3. This one is BAA1.
Yes.
Yeah, so we cannot rely on saying that, okay, they are the same. The user account status and the user permission is the same thing. No, the user account ID and then the permission account ID is the same. No, the user's permission ID actually. So this is the user's account ID, and while this one is the user's permission ID. So they are, both of them are different. I'm just surprised that the other one we checked, the user's account ID, same thing with the user's permission ID. I'm surprised. It's not supposed to be like that though. But since they are not under the same collection, then there can be conflicts there. Okay, so that's cool. I hope you guys understood what we just did just now, because I want you guys to go and work on it yourself. So I'm going to ask Mr. Ike if there's going to be a promotion for this week. So if there's going to be a promotion, that means we're going to have an assignment, official task that's going to promote us to another stage. All right, guys, we've overstayed our time here. Like we have used 31 minutes on top of our time. All right, guys. So I'm going to say goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah, take care of yourself.
Thank you very much.
Hey, you're welcome. Okay. Okay. Okay, so yeah, guys, I'll see you later. Mr. Biola.
Okay, bye.